Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Offering our salutations to Ramana, who shines as the self in every being, we begin today's satsang with a prayer by Srimati Sapna Ganesh. This will be followed by the chanting of Muktakatrayam by Sri Nandakumarji.
दक्षिणामूर्तिसारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमां रमणाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां शुक्लां वरदरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये आङ्गिकं भुवनं यस्य वाचिकं सर्ववाङ्मयम् आहार्यं चन्द्रतारादि तं नमः सात्विकं शिवम् ॐ नमो भगवते Shri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana to everyone.
एकम् अक्षरं हृदि निरन्तरं भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् अहम् साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मच्यता पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम् देहं मृण्मयवत् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तत भावशुप्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः कोऽहं भावयुत कुतो मरधिया दृष्टात्मनिष्टात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया मूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं। नमो रमण।
Namo Ramana. We continue the Satsang with the chanting of a few verses from Upadesha Saram. This will be presented by Kumari Uma Shripati.
नमो रमण। वायुरोधनात् लीयते मना जालपक्षिवद्रोदसाधनम् चित्तवायवाश्चित्क्रियायुताः शाकयोर्द्वयी शक्तिमूलका लयविनाशने उभयरोधने लयगतं पुनर्भवति नोऽमृतम् प्राणबन्धनात् लीनमानसम् एकचिन्तनान्नाशमेत्यद नष्टमानसोत्कृष्टयोगिन कृत्यमस्ति किं स्वस्तितिं यत दृश्यवारितं चित्तमात्मना चित्वदर्शनं तत्त्वदर्शनं मानसं तु किं मार्गणे कृते नैव मानसं मार्ग आर्जवात् वृत्तयस्त्वहं वृत्तिमाश्रिताः वृत्तयो मनो विद्यहं मन अहमयं कुतो भवति चिन्वत ऐपतत्यहं निजविचारणम् अहमिनाशभाज्यहमहं तया स्फुरतिर्हृत्स्वयं परमपूर्णसत्। नमो रमण।
Namo Ramana. We move on to the offerings of Ramananjali music. The first presentation will be by Srimati V. Radha and Vallabh Srinivasan. This will be followed by one more song presented by Savitri Krishnan and Jai Shri Ram Krishnan.
Namo Ramana to everyone. Today we have selected a song written by Dr. Doddarange Gowda. The Telugu translation is by Y.V. Venkateshwara Rao and the music is by Sri H.K. Narayana. అరుణాచలము పైకి కిరణాలం పావో గురు రమణ స్వామి నీ మహిమ చూపావో అరుణాచలము పైకి కిరణాలం పావో గురు రమణ స్వామి నీ మహిమ చూపావో గుంపు గుంపుగా పైకి పక్షులెగిరాయో గుంపు గుంపుగా పైకి పక్షులెగిరాయో మా తండ్రి కావర రమణ మా తండ్రి కావర రమణ అంటూ కూశావో అరుణాచలము పైకి కిరణాలం పావో గురు రమణ స్వామి నీ మహిమ చూపావో భేదభావాలేని చూపక నదులు కదిలాయో ప్రీతి స్నేహం చూసే రమణ గురుని తలిచావో భేదభావాలేని చూపక నదులు కదిలాయో ప్రీతి స్నేహం చూసే రమణ గురుని తలిచావో జాతి భీతి ఏమి లేదని గాలి వీచావో జాతి భీతి ఏమి లేదని గాలి వీచావో, వీచే గాలి ఆగిరమణుని పలుకు విన్నావో, అరుణాచలము పైకి కిరణాలంపావో, గురు రమణ స్వామిని మహిమ చూపావో. కుహు కుహు అన్ని చైత్ర కోయిల కూసేనో, పూతలోన రమణ స్వామి మాట కలిపావో. కుహు కుహు అని చైత్ర కోయిల కూసేనో, పూతలోన రమణ స్వామి మాట కలిపావో. చట చట అడవిలోన పూలు విరిసేనో, అచ్చట చట అడవిలోన పూలు విరిసేనో, పూల వంటి రమణ గురుని, పూల వంటి రమణ గురుని నవ్వు విన్నావో, అరుణాచలము పైకి కిరణాలంపావో, గురు రమణ స్వామి నీ మహిమ చూపావో. అడవి నడుమ శాంతమూర్తి మోము కన్నావో, గురు రమణుని అడుగులు గురుతు పట్టావో. అడవి నడుమ శాంతమూర్తి మోము కన్నావో, యోగి గురు రమణుని అడుగులు గురుతు పట్టావో. కొండలన్నీ మౌనముతో పదము పొగడాయో, కొండలన్నీ మౌనముతో పదము పొగడాయో. అన్నీ చేరి రమణమునిని జపము చేశావో, అరుణాచలము పైకి కిరణాలంపావో, గురు రమణ స్వామి నీ మహిమ చూపావో. అరుణాచలము పైకి కిరణాలంపావో, గురు రమణ స్వామి నీ మహిమ చూపావో, నీ మహిమ చూపావో, మహిమ చూపావో. నమో రమణ.
ಗುರುವೇ ರಮಣ ಗುರುವೇ ಅರಸಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಂದಿರುವೆ, ಗುರುವೇ ರಮಣ ಗುರುವೇ ಅರಸಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಂದಿರುವೆ. ದೀನ ನಾನು ನಿನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಭಿಕ್ಷೆ ನೀಡೆಂದು ಚರಣ ಕಮಲದಿ ಬೇಡಿರುವೆ, ಗುರುವೇ ರಮಣ ಗುರುವೇ ಅರಸಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಂದಿರುವೆ. ದೀನ ನಾನು ನಿನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಭಿಕ್ಷೆ ನೀಡೆಂದು ಚರಣ ಕಮಲದಿ ಬೇಡಿರುವೆ, ಗುರುವೇ ರಮಣ ಗುರುವೇ ಅರಸಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಂದಿರುವೆ. ನಿನ್ನ ನಾಮ ಜಪಿಸುವ ವೇಳೆ ಏನೋ ನೆಮ್ಮದಿ, ಹೆಜ್ಜೆ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆ ಆಯಿತು ಮಾಯ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ಬೇಗುದಿ. ನಿನ್ನ ನಾಮ ಜಪಿಸುವ ವೇಳೆ ಏನೋ ನೆಮ್ಮದಿ, ಹೆಜ್ಜೆ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆ ಆಯಿತು ಮಾಯ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ಬೇಗುದಿ. ಏನೋ ಶಾಂತಿ ತಂದಿತು ಇಂದು ನಿನ್ನ ಪರಮ ಸನ್ನಿಧಿ ಏನೋ ಶಾಂತಿ ತಂದಿತು ಇಂದು ನಿನ್ನ ಪರಮ ಸನ್ನಿಧಿ ಕೈ ಹಿಡಿದಿಲ್ಲ ನಡೆಸೋ ಮುಂದೆ ಕರುಣಾವಾರಿಧಿ ಗುರುವೇ ರಮಣ ಗುರುವೇ ಅರಸಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಂದಿರುವೆ ದೀನ ನಾನು ನಿನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಭಿಕ್ಷೆ ನೀಡೆಂದು ಚರಣ ಕಮಲದಿ ಬೇಡಿರುವೆ ಗುರುವೇ ರಮಣ ಗುರುವೇ ಅರಸಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಂದಿರುವೆ ನನ್ನ ಪಾಪ ದಹಿಸುವ ವೇಳೆ ನೀನೇ ಆಸರೆ ತಾಳಲಾರೆ ದುರಿತವ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡೋ ಕಣ್ಮರೆ ನನ್ನ ಪಾಪ ದಹಿಸುವ ವೇಳೆ ನೀನೇ ಆಸರೆ ತಾಳಲಾರೆ ದುರಿತವ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡೋ ಕಣ್ಮರೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಹೊರತು ಯಾರದಿ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲಿ ತೊಂದರೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಹೊರತು ಯಾರದಿ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲಿ ತೊಂದರೆ ಕಾಯುವೆ ನೀನು ಗುರುವೇ ನೀನು ಶರಣು ಎಂದರೆ ಗುರುವೇ ರಮಣ ಗುರುವೇ ಅರಸಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಂದಿರುವೆ ಗುರುವೇ ರಮಣ ಗುರುವೇ ಅರಸಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಂದಿರುವೆ ದೀನ ನಾನು ನಿನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಭಿಕ್ಷೆ ನೀಡೆಂದು ಚರಣ ಕಮಲದಿ ಬೇಡಿರುವೆ ಗುರುವೇ ರಮಣ ಗುರುವೇ ಅರಸಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಂದಿರುವೆ ಅರಸಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಂದಿರುವೆ ಅರಸಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಂದಿರುವೆ.
ಭಗವತಿ ಶ್ರೀ ರಮಣ.
Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang with a reading and a sharing session by Sri Nandakumarji. We have been hearing Sri Nandakumarji reading from the book Forever is in the Now. I request him to please continue the reading and the sharing of his insights of the reading.
Namo Ramana. In this, the book reading segment of our satsang, we continue our gleanings from Forever is in the Now, the timeless message of Sri Ramana Maharshi, edited and compiled by our founder president, Sri A.R. Natarajanji. We have been reading the account of Mauni Sadhu. The account was Facing the Sage, and the introduction to Mauni Sadhu is him as an author. Mauni Sadhu, his best known work is In the Days of Great Peace, covering his stay with Ramana for some months in 1949. Ways to Self-Realization is another work, well-known book of his. Facing the Sage, we go back to the beginning of this article and read through it, though we have done quite a few paragraphs of it. Facing the Sage, Mauni Sadhu. About 16 years have passed since the departure of the Maharishi. the sage of Arunachala, at whose feet I spent several months in the spring and summer of 1949. Enough time has now elapsed to permit us a certain desirable perspective of the luminous appearance of the Maharishi on the spiritual horizon of our small planet. Thousands of people streamed past the sage's modest couch on which he spent the last months of his earthly life. I keenly observed the crowd of visitors trying to evaluate the influence of the Master on all those erring souls, among whom there must also have been a few genuine spiritual seekers, some of whom had come from the other ends of the world. It is a well-known fact that in the Maharishi's presence, everyone felt himself to be different and better than before in his everyday life. This spiritual magnetism of the one who himself had found the final peace and wisdom could not fail to radiate on all of us, just as the sun sheds its rays on everything and everyone, good and bad alike. That is beyond any doubt. But what happened later? How many were able to retain their unique experience and to incorporate it into the pattern of their lives after they had left the darshan? Acceptance of the Guru's teachings means to work along his lines in the world. One simply feels obliged to, by the mute but inexorable inner law, to try to repay the blessing and grace which was once received in spite of one's imperfections and weakness. How can a man undertake such a work? I believe that this is possible only by following the Master's example, that is, by making his words of truth available and clear to all those who still have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. Such a decision comes spontaneously and without any forethought. One simply knows what to do and does not worry about the means, for they invariably follow, sometimes in a quite unexpected and unforeseen form. But what of the thousands who had received the grace of seeing the sage with their own eyes? How many had forgotten the atmosphere so vibrant with peace and wisdom which surrounded the departing Master? I sat at his feet from morning till evening, and one of the initial results that were noticed after the first few days was the realization of one's erroneous paths in the past, devoted to man's worst enemy, his ego, that hybrid arising between body and the self. When I realized the greatness of Maharishi's achievement, I involuntarily turned to myself and said, "Here sits the sage, without boasting of any titles or degrees, like the sun in comparison to my poor little candle." And then the first battle was won. I realized the emptiness of all human titles and degrees when the one like Maharishi had none of them. By surrendering one's own ego, the writer says, one understands the ephemeral nature of all the titles bestowed on us by the ephemeral world. And one realizes that the master state is the only true title, as Sadhuvam Swami says in the Dhyana Patu, that out of all the learnings, the highest learning is that of the self, and out of all the titles that you can get, the best title is that of the self-realization. It is a well-known fact that the Maharishi himself declared that, properly speaking, he had no name at all. And besides, after reaching the hill of Arunachala, he never put his signature to anything for the remainder of his life. Another transformation was the removal of all anxiety, which often devours many otherwise able souls who have not experienced the peace found at the Master's feet. First of all, we realize our ego and all the titles that it can be bestowed are worthless. Second, he says, this itself leads to a complete lack of anxiety at anything. How many people are worried about the fate of the world, when at the same time they have not resolved their own problems. As you are, so is the world, says the sage. Hence, the world can be improved only by one's own improvement. If all work to do so, the world would soon become perfect. In another place, the Maharishi has said, it is the Creator's duty to look after his world, but not ours. From here, we start this week's reading. How many hypocrisies would be annihilated if men only realized these two simple axioms? The next myth to be overthrown in the presence of the Maharishi was that of conditions and places. In following Bhagavan's teachings, I ceased to ascribe any meaning to the material environment. For as he taught us, the attainment is as possible in a noisy London flat as in a secluded ashram. And yet, so many people still worry because they are unable to undertake a long and costly journey to a holy place in which they hope to achieve what they cannot otherwise. Once, when a Madras teacher saw the Maharishi, he decided to abandon his family and job and remain forever with the master in his jungle ashram, as the place was often called then. But Maharishi was not at all enthusiastic about such a decision. He simply pointed out that changing a man's title from teacher to that of a sannyasin is a useless change of labels, under which there still remains the same old restless and unconquered mind. So this is what we had seen earlier. By completely conquering the ego, Bhagavan teaches to the disciple that no title, including that of sannyasin, is worthy or more worthy than stilling the mind. The conception of life itself also undergoes a radical change. Some religions teach their faithful that this life in matter is only a temporary sojourn, while the true life will come only later, in eternity, after the death of the body. For many, this simplification still works. But in the presence of the sage, life takes on a different meaning and a wider sense. One realizes that eternity is now and here, and our three subdivisions of time are only an artificial illusion of the conditioned existence in ignorance. These few comments are obviously a mere fragment of what one could really bring from the Maharishi's initiation. But they are like seeds, from which plants grow if the soil is well prepared for them. I'll read the last two paragraphs. Once, when a Madras teacher saw the Maharishi, he decided to abandon his family and job and remain forever with the master in his jungle ashram, as the place was often called then. But the Maharishi was not at all enthusiastic about such a decision. He simply pointed out that changing a man's title from teacher to that of a sannyasin is only a useless change of labels, under which there still remains the same old, restless and unconquered mind. The conception of life itself undergoes a radical change. Some religions teach their faithful that this life in matter is only a temporary sojourn, while the true life will come only later, in eternity, after the death of the body. For many, this simplification still works. But in the presence of the sage, life takes on a different meaning and a wider sense. One realizes that eternity is now and here, and our three subdivisions of time are only an artificial illusion of the conditioned existence in ignorance. These few comments are obviously a mere fragment of what one could really bring from the Maharishi's initiation. But they are like seeds, from which plants grow if the soil is well prepared for them. We continue to the next article by Mauni Sadhu again, Sri Ramana as I knew him. The title of this chapter may not be quite appropriate. For those who knew Sri Ramana Maharishi, know him forever. You can note that the tense has changed even in the same sentence. The title of the chapter may not be quite appropriate. For those who knew Sri Ramana Maharishi, know him forever. This is because even a single encounter with the great Rishi on our life's path is an event that can never be forgotten or dimmed in our consciousness by the passage of time. For some of us, it meant a complete change in the course of our present and future lives, and this could never have happened otherwise. The scope of the subject is far too broad to be described in detail within the framework of such a short chapter, and therefore I am compelled to condense it as much as possible, says the writer. The first time that I met him, I had come directly from the cart that brought me from the Tiruvannamalai railway station. Before visiting the ashram, I had been conversant with the master's teachings for some 4 years, and the many photographs had made his features quite familiar to me. So, when I was ushered into the dimly lit dining hall, I was able to recognize him immediately. Although at the time his figure was much more meager than in the pictures I had seen. We can recall that the author is visiting in 1949, towards the end perhaps of 1949. Therefore, the cancer has started, it's having its effect on the Maharishi's body. So, when I was ushered into the dimly lit dining hall, I was able to recognize him immediately. Although at the time his figure had was much more meager than in the pictures I had seen. He was sitting close to a wall, eating his evening meal. I bowed in greeting, and with an incomparable expression of kindness on his face, he asked me where the other devotee was, who had arranged to come with me. I wondered at his very sharp memory, because my letter advising of my proposed visit had been written many months before. My friend's absence was explained, as he had not been in a position to come. Then Sri Ramana ordered the supper be brought to me. It was not a matter of deliberation, but an intuitive flash when I became conscious that at last I had found what I had been seeking all my life. Immediately, I became absorbed into the presence of the Master. At first, I was worried about his precarious physical condition, but my grief quickly became dissolved in his spiritual radiation. The outer appearance soon merged into that mysterious inner link with him, which has remained unbroken from that moment up to the present time. While I was at his feet, I learned to stop the thought currents in my mind. A thing that formerly had devoured long years of effort and had never been completely successful despite the many exercises, they were quite inadequate in the sublime spiritual atmosphere surrounding the Master, which in itself permitted much faster development. I'll read that sentence again. While I was at his feet, I learned to stop the thought currents in my mind. A thing that formerly had devoured long years of effort and had never been completely successful despite the many exercises. He writes about the exercises with a semicolon. They were quite inadequate in the sublime spiritual atmosphere surrounding the Master, which in itself permitted much faster development. Saying that the mere presence of being in the presence of Master is enough to cut down our thought currents. The key to it, that is concentration, came of itself. Firstly, I became aware that there is a thing above all things which I had ever known before, and this was the most important result. Firstly, I became aware that there is a thing above all things which I had ever known before, and this was the most important result. This cannot be adequately described in words, but nevertheless, perhaps some direct hints will give an idea about it. The eyes of the Master conveyed in silence that there is a state that is beyond and untouched by all human troubles. That state which is certainty and peace in itself, in which we know everything, for then everything is in us. This mysterious process in consciousness was induced by the Maharishi, or rather by his presence, for he himself, for he was himself all harmony and peace. I tried to analyze the changes that arose in me when I meditated at his feet. I found that the mind was easily freed from thoughts, and that memory in its usual meaning was no more, along with its concomitant subdivisions of time, past, present, and the so-called future. Instead, there appeared something that cannot be properly described in words. Perhaps a conception of living eternally would be best. There were no visions, but strangely enough, one knew that there could be nothing unknown to oneself, for by completely directing the attention, one could know everything. These experiences have been more explicitly described in one of the writer's previous books, In the Days of Great Peace. In some wonderful way, the Maharishi seemed to supervise these inner processes in us, just as an operator watches the work of complicated machinery which he knows thoroughly. Moreover, he mysteriously helped in these inner experiences. But how? Still remains close to me. At the same time, without any deliberation from my side, a potent love for him was created in my heart, simply because it could not be otherwise. Altogether, a man emerged from these experiences greatly changed, and often within a totally different conception about everything in this world. For myself, I called it the spiritual alchemy of the master. As time passed, I ceased to consider Sri Ramana as a being of flesh and blood, and this was the most wonderful experience and conquest. From that time, the master could never be lost to me, although I was only too well aware that his months and days on this earth were numbered and few remained. I saw the man spirit, the indestructible essence, instead of just the mortal frame. And this was the chief factor that enabled me to bear his physical departure without any inner catastrophe. The word spirit is plainly misused by the world, which cannot connect the term with anything real, often confusing the word spirit with emotional mental impressions and creating something indefinite and dim. All his long life, Sri Maharishi taught that the true reality is beyond all forms, no matter to which plane of existence they belong. And yet, for many, many persons, this remains only as a myth or theory. After the master left this earth, I tried to analyze what it was in his appearance amongst us that was the most important and deciding thing for the future generations. I reached the conclusion that it was he himself, because he showed the example of final attainment, thereby making it accessible to us. I'll read that paragraph in conclusion. After the master left this earth, I tried to analyze what it was in his appearance amongst us that was the most important and deciding thing for future generations. I reached the conclusion that the most important thing was, it was he himself. The most important thing was Bhagavan Shri Ramana Maharshi himself, because he showed the example of final attainment, thereby making it accessible to us. Such great ones are the indelible proof that the final attainment is possible here and now, says the author, and that is the most transforming thing that he has left for all times to come, he says. We continue the readings from this article again in the coming week with Bhagavan's grace. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. We continue the Satsang with a session of self-inquiry guided by Dilip Simhaji.
Namo Ramana. Dhyayet Sharada Chandra Sundaramukam Tamrarandekshanam Bhaktabhishtavarayapradakaram Kaupi क्षीणमात्रोज्ज्वलम् स्वात्मानन्दरसानुभूतिविवशम् सर्वानवद्याङ्गकम् श्रीमन्तं श्रीरमणीश्वरं गुरुवरं योगासनाध्यासितं ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहमिति साक्षातात्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्मतामज्जतव पवनचलनरोधात् आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्. We commence the evening Atma Vicharam by listening to Bhagavan's Upadesham. I'll be reading from the book Guru Vachaka Kovai, the chapter Meditation on the Truth. The topic is Bhakti and Vichara. Verse 724. It is only through the divine grace bestowed by Ishvara, he who abides as the soul of the soul and who is the reality of the Jiva, that Samadhi, the state of abiding in the heart, is attained as the culmination of the practice of Vichara that bestows the much desired true Gnana. In this verse, Bhagavan is making it very clear. It is the grace in the beginning, grace in the middle, grace in the end that makes everything possible. Only in the beginning and the middle, the ego continues to believe that it has known something, it has done something. But finally, it is the grace which makes us all these entities act the way it needs to be, and finally bestows the samadhi, that stillness where the true gnana, that summa iru, is understood, and one understands that is one's own natural state, and therefore abides in that state. That is the abiding in the heart. And that is the culmination of the practice, where all the vasanas, including the foremost, which is the ego, the I thought, is absorbed back into the heart, into that silence, by the grace of the Ishvara. Until such time, the vasanas would be rising in the form of thoughts. Therefore, Bhagavan says, no matter how many thoughts rise, no matter whatever is the nature of the thought, whether it is good, bad, ugly, even spiritual for that matter, one should diligently inquire, to whom is this? Thereupon, it becomes clear that it is for me, not for anybody else. Then Bhagavan asks us to inquire, who am I? When I say this is for me, who am I? What do I really refer to as I within me? Or where from this I thought rises within me? When we search and get back to the source of that I thought, Then and there, the mind is absorbed in the stillness of the self. With repeated practice, Bhagavan assures that the mind will gain enough strength to be free of all the vasanas and abide in that stillness, being one with it. Until such time that it becomes effortless, one needs to put the effort of vichara. The immense grace of Bhagavan, with which alone we have come to this most direct path. Let us do Atma Vichara for the next 10 minutes. Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We now have the sharing by Sri Venkatesh Deshpande ji. Today we are starting with a new work called the Guru Stuti, which has been translated to Tamil by Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. I request Sri Venkatesh Deshpande ji to do the sharing on Guru Stuti.
Namo Ramana. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviram Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jnanamulam Gurur Murti, Puja Mulam Gurur Padam, Mantramulam Gururvakyam, Mokshamulam Gurur Kripa. Mokshamulam Gurur Kripa. Namo Ramana. We're doing Manana on Shankara Digvijaya, the traditional life of Sri Shankaracharya. This was written and translated in the Sanskrit by Madhava Vidyaranya. Madhava Vidyaranya, whose teacher was Vidyatirtha. So Vidyatirtha was the head of the Sringeri Shankara Mutt from 1228 to 1333, and Vidyaranya succeeded him between 1380 and 1386. So Vidyaranya says that this is not a biography, but a biographical and philosophical poem. So let's try and get some details of some prefatory remarks that Vidyaranya wrote. Offering my prostrations to Sri Vidyatirtha, my Guru, who is one with the self of all, I am attempting to give here a clear and precise summary of the ancient literature connected with the glorious life of Acharya Shankara. In a small mirror, even the big forehead of an elephant can be clearly seen. Even so, in this my brief work, you will get the essence of all the extensive accounts about Shankara and his teachings. The intensely enjoyable taste of sweetness is enhanced by the intervention of other tastes. Similarly, my literary endeavor, however defective, will only enhance the delectableness of what ancient poets have written on the subject. And he goes on to say, where is the glory and greatness of Sri Shankara, which in a subtle fashion spreads everywhere like the fragrance of jasmine flower, transcending the barriers of space and time? And where am I, a creature of very little powers and talents? In spite of this disparity, I am attempting this unequal task only because of my faith in the support of the merciful look of benediction that my Guru has bestowed on me. So we are doing Manana on Canton 10, verses 45 to 55. I request Sapna to kindly chant the first two lines today.
Yes, sir. नेति नेतीत्यादिनिगमा वचनेन निपुणं निषिध्यामूर्तामूर्तराशिं यदशावयनिह्नवम् स्वात्मरूपतया जानन्ति कोविदास्तत्त्वमसि तत्त्वम् नेति नेतीत्यादिनिगमा वचनेन निपुणं निषिध्यामूर्तामूर्तराशिं यदशावयनिह्नवम् स्वात्मरूपतया जानन्ति कोविदास्तत्त्वमसि तत्त्वम्. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sapna. So, Bhagwan has called this the Guru Stuti, and in the collected works of Sri Ramana Maharshi, an introduction is given by Sri Bhagwan. When Shankaracharya was going about the country debating with the exponents of the various schools of thought and overcoming them, he came to the town of Mahishamati in the north, where Mandana Mishra, the exponent of Vedic rituals, lived. He overcame in debate, but his wife refused to concede victory until she was also defeated. So Shankaracharya argued with her and defeated her in all subjects except erotica. He then asked for a respite of 1 month, and after shedding his body in a cave under the custody of his disciples, entered into the dead body of King Amaruka and sported among the 100 queens in the guise of their husband. When the disciples found that the period specified by the Guru had already expired, they grew anxious. So some of them went to him in the disguise of minstrels and sang the following hymn to remind him. So the first two lines that were sung, so we will come to that till my computer decides to work with me. Rejecting with the help of Vedic dicta, like not this, all the manifest and unmanifest phenomena as unreal, the wise ones arrive at their irreducible self-nature, which cannot be subjected to any further negation. I'll read that again. Rejecting with the help of the Vedic dicta, like not this, all the manifest and unmanifest phenomena as unreal, the wise ones arrive at what irreducible, at that irreducible self-nature which cannot be subjected to any further negation. You are that truth. This is what Bhagwan, this is what is also mentioned in. So let us try and understand this aspect of neti neti. What do we mean by neti neti? So let us go into our own lives and see what it means. Some may be very, very simple, but some of them we need to do manana on so that we understand what this really means. So let us try and look at one example. For example, if you give a chocolate to a child, if you give a chocolate to a child or give an ice cream to a child, and then the mother says, oh, the child has got a bad throat, take it away. So then what you do, you from the child's hand, you snatch the ice cream away. Okay, then the child starts crying. Then what do? You will actually try and give the child another, give a ball or give a lollipop or give something else. And I hope that the child will keep quiet. But the child keeps on crying. You give a ball, it'll keep on crying. You give the next lollipop, it'll cry louder. You give it something else, it'll cry even louder. And suddenly you give that same ice cream to that child. And suddenly what happens? Child goes quiet. So the child did neti to all the other three, and when the ice cream came, which was originally with the child, when that ice cream came to its hand, what had happened? It stopped crying. It became quiet. It came to silence. So this is a simple example of neti. Now the other example that we all see is the peeling of the onion. Now, if you see an onion, you go on peeling it. You go on one day, you just take an onion and go on start instead of cutting it, just go on peeling it from all sides. And at the end, what's going to happen? There'll be nothing left to peel because you've peeled everything out. Everything would have been removed. All the all the extras would have gone out, and then what will be left? Nothing will be left. So it's the same experience of neti. Bhagwan is trying to say. Bhagwan is trying to say here that the truth that which the wise realize as the self, the residuum left over on withdrawing from external objects with or without form, ether, air, fire, water, and earth, by a careful application of the scriptural text, not this, that art thou. I'm going to give you a little more dramatic example, but this is very, very true. If Bhagwan decides to leave this body, then what happens? They'll take me to the body will be taken to the chamber, and then what it'll be lit up, and then what will come out? And in a pot, this body will come out as some ash. Then what happens? The ash is given to the family members. Then what happens? After the few days of puja, they will take that ash and go and take it towards the Sangam or wherever it is, holy river, and throw it away. Now, if the family knows this is the remains of this body, then why don't they keep the ashes? They don't keep it. They throw it away into the sea. Why? Because neti. This is not it. This is not Venkatesh. This is not Venkatesh. So this is a very, very important thing. We do it so many times in our life. Many of us have lost our loved ones, and we have thrown the ashes in the Ganga or Kaveri or this and that. Why have we thrown it? It is because neti. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. But we have not thought about it. We have not done manana enough on this aspect. But actually, that's the real thing that this is not true. Then the other thing is Ganga Maya. Ganga Maya, everybody wants to clean Ganga Maya. Oh, it's getting very, very impure. They are saying we will clean it in Rishikesh, we will clean it in here, the Allahabad, in near Bengal, we'll clear it and all. But what is Ganga at its core? It's pure. It's purity. Whenever this Kumbh Mela or anything happens, everybody jumps into the Ganga to have a bath because they feel it's very auspicious. Is Ganga is it dirty? No, you'll say nothing that the dirt on the flowers or the milk or whatever it is floating. It's not Ganga. It's not Ganga. It's not Ganga. At the core of Ganga, it is purity. So exactly the same thing. If you look at our lives also. See, if you come to Bhagwan, now what happens is, if you see there are two aspects about when we come the first time to come to Bhagwan, what happens is you come with many questions, and then what happens? You go and sit in front of Bhagwan, and this is what we have been reading about various devotees. And what happens? Suddenly those questions start vanishing. I don't know how those questions start vanishing, and people start experiencing the silence within. Now, Bhagavan is, what he said, he just inquire. He said, Neti, that's not you. That's not you. You're asking about something which is not you. Neti, Neti, Neti. So that's why you come to your silence. You come to who you really are. Self-inquiry is also like that. See, we don't think about self-inquiry. We say self-inquiry, oh, when thought comes, for whom is this thought? For me, who am I? Who am I? Oh, mechanically I'm doing who am I? Who am I? I'm not actually going to the source. I'm not actually removing the falseness. The falsity has to be removed. We have to inquire into the mind. When you inquire into the mind, what's actually happening? When you inquire into a thought which is there in the mind, what is that you're saying? Oh, it's not true. It's neti, neti. Another thought comes, neti, neti. No, this is not true. Let it go. Another thought comes, no, neti, neti. So actually, when you're doing self-inquiry, you're doing neti, neti. This is not true. This is not right. This is not the real stuff. So, but we don't do enough manana about it, so that when you're practicing, when you're doing nididhyasana, we should be able to practice it and do it with clear understanding that whenever I'm doing a self-inquiry, actually I'm doing neti neti. I'm saying that's not me, that's not me. My body is not me, the mind is not me, the intellect is not me. There's something behind that, and that is the self. And that's what Bhagavan is trying to tell us in this first verse, that the truth which the wise realize as the self, the residuum left over on withdrawing from external objects. When you withdraw from external objects, with or without form, that means it's not with form and without form, both, by a careful application of the scriptural text, not this, thou art that. See, this is a very important thing. The last three words, Tattvamasi, you are that. You are that Satchidananda Atman. But you have forgotten that. There's a veiling power. There's a covering that's happening. And there is a avarana and there is a vikshepa. Both are there. And you think, oh, you are not this Atma Swarupa, that consciousness, you are not there because you're not experiencing that because of this covering. So Bhagavan says, you have, as part of this, three aspects that are talked about here. One is the neti aspect, and obviously the other one is the manifest and unmanifest. The third aspect is the self nature, where you cannot do any further negation. It means once you come to the end of the onion, you cannot peel it any further. If somebody says you're a human being, how much? Oh, am I a human being? Can I peel out? No, you can't peel out. That if you're at the core, if you're something, you're that. So Bhagavan says that is the truth. You are that truth, and all of us have to come to that lowest common denominator. And once you come to that lowest common denominator, you are with the self. Once you are with the self, that's the purpose of this life. So in the next satsang, we will do a little more manana on neti as well as manifest and unmanifest. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana. Thank you.
Namo Ramana. Thank you. We move on to the next session where we have the sharing by Dr. Kalarani Rangaswamy on the work Devika Lotram Jnana Vichara Padalam.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. அருணாச்சலமென அகமே நினைப்பவர் அகத்தை வேறறுப்பாய் அருணாச்சலம். Namo Ramana to all. With the abundance grace of Bhagavan, we are meditating on Devi Kalotra Jnana Vichara Padalam, very graciously given to us by Bhagavan in Tamil. And in the Lord Satsang we saw, when a sadhaka succeeds in dragging the mind completely from outside attachments, the mind now starts imagining it to be Atma itself. It's a bhavana. Bhagavan says, go beyond this bhavana. Now the mind is struck. It can neither go outside nor inside. As it is the nature of the mind to catch hold of something
And when it finds nothing to hold, it does not know what to do. So it goes on to sleep. Bhagavan says, wake the mind from the sleep, and if it starts catching hold of worldly things, pull it back again. உறக்கத்தினின்றும் உணர்த்திடுக, பின்னர் சித்தம் சலனம் உடுக்காய். உறக்கம் அலைவு என்னும் இவ் இரண்டும் அற்ற நிலை உற்றால் நிலை இதனில் நிச்சலமாய் நில். So Bhagavan says, the state where there is neither sleep nor oscillation of the mind in the waking state, it is the state that is needed. Be in that state. And in the next stanza, Bhagavan says, Achittam ஆச்சரியம் இன்றியதாய் தான் மாது அற என்றும் ஆலம்பமெல்லாம் அற்றதாய் பாசமன அவஸ்தை மன்னிடாமை ஞேய முக்தினது இலக்கணமும் தான் தரி. In this stanza, Bhagavan describes the state of mukti, the nature of mukti. If the mind is very adamant in going outside and involved in worldly happenings, because when the mind comes out of its abode, it cannot stand alone. It will catch out of something. It will think something, and if it gets bored of thinking that are the same thing, it will switch over to other thought, and it will be in the clutches of thoughts coming and going. Actually, what is a mind? Is there any place for mind? No. Only thoughts are mind. Only when the wandering nature of the mind is destroyed, it can become pure. For that, through sadhana, Bhagavan says, forbid the mind from catching hold of worldly things. When there is no attachment, the mind is pure. Desirous mind not even can touch the pure mind. Such a pure mind where there is no desire is flawless, and this is the state which jnana gives, called mukti, and this is the nature of mukti. The main avastha of mind is desire. As said, getting out of it is very difficult, and it itself is a sadhana. Asa paramam dukkam, nirasa paramam sukham. The desirous mind always thinks of attaining something. I want to reach the goal. I want to attain that. I want to become something. People want their children to become doctors, engineers, big business sharks, politicians, whatnot. And except very few, no one aims at making their children as a good human being. Only then he will realize the importance of this human form. Otherwise, he will also grow with lots of desires and ambitions. I'll tell you an example. Once a Krishna Bhakta, in his daily prayer, was praying to Krishna to come directly and satisfy his desire. Rukmani Devi asked Krishna to send at least an agent to give a boon to that Bhakta. So, a Devaduta was sent, and he also came to him and said, see, I am from Vaikuntham. Tell me, what do you want? Krishna has sent me to satisfy your wants. Oh great one, I am blessed. I don't have any good dresses. Devaduta stretched his index finger and beautiful dresses came. Then, what do you want? Oh yes, a decent house for living. He stretched his finger again. House also came. He was so happy. Now shall I go? Devaduta asked. No, wait. Without any furniture, what will I do? Furnish this house. He said he did so. Okay. Now, how can I live in this house alone? The kitchen is there. Provisions are there. You have given me beautifully. I want a wife to cook for me. Okay, done. Wife also came. Now, can I go? Asked Devadut. No, wait. I need a good job so that I can maintain this house and family. Okay, pa. Devaduta stretched again his finger and said, okay, he got a good job. Boss, can I go now? That person was thinking for a very long time. What else can I ask this man? At last he said, okay, you can go for time being, this is enough. But I may need more in the days to come. So what you are doing is, give me your finger by which you make all the things happen. I can use it whenever I need. Then you can go. That Devaduta got surprised. He was really shocked. Such is the work, such is the vele of desirous mind. So Bhagavan says, Pasa mana avasthai mannidame. Don't give room for desire, because desires lead one into problem and struggle only. Only non-desirous mind enjoy ananda mona sukham. That is the lakshana of mukti. Bhagavan lived as an example for this. He conveyed this fact, this message, this upadesa by his each and every movement, each and every saying. That is the reason he could show love equally to all. Even animals were blessed to receive Bhagavan's love. Right from great pandits like Kavya Kantakanabadi Muni, through ordinary people, down to squirrel, all enjoyed Bhagavan's Karuna equally. There is no doubt we are also enjoying Bhagavan's blessing under his loving shade. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. In this part of the Satsang, we were meditating on the words of Ramanacentre, which is written by Ganapati Muni, and they have been compiled in this format by Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi himself. We were on the verse where Ganapati Muni is asking that it is very urgent, O Ramana, why are you delaying your coming? And we are all waiting for you. And he gives various reasons, the heart-melting reasons for which the Ramana, who is none other than the Subramanya Skanda, who has come in the human form, to come and bless. Ramanaya Loka Gurave Namaha, Ramanaya Loka Gurave Namaha, Ramanaya Loka Gurave Namaha, Ramanaya Loka Gurave Namaha, Vairagyam Tava Vittamastu Karunam Shaknoshi Hatum Katam Dushastestu Samudyama Pitripada Dhyanam Chakim Tadrisham Kamastestu Vigarhito Vinamatam Raksha Chakim Garhita Skandachatma Manushya Kamnu Samayam Kanchet samudvikshase Ramananige Loka Guruvige Namana Ramananige Loka Guruvige Namana Vairagya Ninanidiya Girali Karuneya Torevudu Sariye Nindisalarhavagirali Swayam Yatnavu ತಂದೆ ಅಡಿ ಧ್ಯಾನವು ಹಾಗಿರಲು ಸಾಧ್ಯವೇ ಕಾಮವು ತಿರಸ್ಕರಿಸಲರ್ಹವು ಭಕ್ತರ ರಕ್ಷಣೆ ತಿರಸ್ಕರಿಸಬಹುದೇ मनुष्य चग्मदर स्कंदने याव सुसमयಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾದಿರುವೆ ರಮಣನಿಗೆ ಲೋಕ ಗುರುವಿಗೆ ನಮನ ರಮಣನಿಗೆ ಲೋಕ ಗುರುವಿಗೆ ನಮನ. I salute Ramana, who is the Loka Guru, who is none other than Subramanya, the Guru Guha. But my question is, why are you taking such a long time? Are you waiting for any good muhurtam to come and show your grace to all of us? And Ganapati Muni is giving the example, your vairagya is priceless. It is your nidhi, it is your wealth. But your vairagya, you have left everything, the comfort of the home, and you have come as an ascetic, and you are here standing on the slopes of Arunachala. I understand your vairagya, but is it not your duty to show karuna to your devotees? Is karuna also has to be given up in vairagya? This is the first question he asks. And he says that the swayatna, that thinking that I can do it, I will do and I will achieve with my effort, that thought, that swaprayatna is said to be very, very nindanarha. It is said to be, it is full of dosha, because the truth is karturagnyaya prapyate palam karma kim param karma tajjadam. This is the upadesha that Shiva gave to the munis of Darukavana, the sages of Darukavana, who thought that they, with their own power, they could create, they could sustain, and they could destroy, that they thought. But to tell them the truth, that every action can lead to the result only when there is the agnya, when there is the command of the Supreme Creator. If the order, the command of that Supreme Creator is not there, whatever is destined will happen, and what is not destined will not happen, even if lot of effort is put. So that thought that one can achieve with one sway prayatna is full of mistake. It is dosha. There is a dosha in it. But can one say that with one prayatna, with effort, one will turn within to that feet of our Father Lord? If one says that with prayatna, I will do the sadhana of turning within to that feet of the Lord, can one say even that prayatna is dosha? Even that prayatna has a mistake in it, has a fault in it. How can this be? Says Ganapati Muni. And he says, to have a desire is, of course, is nindanarha. Everybody will say you should not have desires. All the desires has to be given up. Gautama Buddha says, Buddha Purnima is coming this Monday. Gautama Buddha says that the desire is the karana for sorrow. The desire is sorrow, says Gautama Buddha. And that's why this desire, which only leads us to sorrow, has to be dropped. But can the desire of well-being of the devotees, do you think that also has to be dropped? Ramana, please consider these requests and don't waste any more time. Come quickly and save us, says Ganapati Muni. When we are talking about the Tyaga as the great wealth, there is a story which is one of my favorites. One beggar in North India, he was waiting that the Akbar Maharaja, the Jahapana Akbar, is going to come, and he is going to give him some money when he begs him. So he is waiting for him out of a mosque, and the Akbar comes, and Akbar says, I will finish my prayer and then I will come and give you the dakshina. He says, and Akbar goes inside the mosque, and he is stretching his hands, and he is begging the Supreme for something. And at that time, the beggar realizes that, oh, this Akbar Maharaja is also a beggar. He is also begging for something with that supreme. So instead of begging one more beggar, is it not right for me to go and beg that supreme one who is the Srimanta and who is Bhagavanta, who gives us everything to everyone? Whoever, he does not want anything, he does not ask for anything, but he gives to everyone. That such a one, the supreme, who is full of compassion, is it not right for me to go and beg from him? So the beggar enters the mosque and he starts begging at that supreme. And Akbar asks, you are asking me for money. How is that you are now turning towards the supreme? And the beggar gives the reason that you may be Jahapana, but still you have the desires. So until we have desires, we are beggars. Until we are praying for this and that, we are beggars. And who is the one who alone is the Srimanta, who is the wealthiest man in the whole universe? It is that supreme. And one needs to turn towards that supreme. And Ramana, who was ever abiding in the self, is that Srimanta. He did not have any desires. In the earlier days, when he was going for Bhiksha in the streets of the Agraharam surrounding the Arunachaleshwara temple, like a Raja, just wearing a kaupina, but he felt as if he was a Raja, and he walked majestically in those streets, and he stood out of a house and he clapped his hand, and listening to this clap, the owner of the house or the lady in the house would bring some rice or gruel, and he did not have any Bhiksha Patra to hold that food that was given. He stretched his hand, the Karatamara, the hands which are like lotus, as the Bhiksha Patra, and he ate whatever was given at that moment. And after filling his stomach, he wiped his hands on his head and the body. Such was the Vairagya of Ramana. Yet he says that I was living like a king in the streets of Arunachala. Such is the greatness of your Vairagya. You didn't even desire for one kaupina, even when your kaupina was torn and it was in rags. The little towel that you're using had so many holes. And Muruganar Swami says, oh, your towel with so many holes. I think it is Indra himself, the one with the Sahasra Akshi, that is with the 1,000 eyes, Indra. He has come and he is serving you as the towel, says Muruganar Swami in one of his kritis. And the shepherd boys were making fun of his the towel which was in rags, and they were telling, the governor wants this precious towel. And Ramana told, no, I am not going to give this precious towel. And he used to roll this towel into a ball, and he used to use it to wipe his hands and his face. Such was your Vairagya. And later the devotees came to know that Ramana's, the towel and his kaupina was in that shape. So they quickly went and they told, we had saved so much of cloth just for you, Ramana, but we forgot to give it to you. But you didn't even ask for one kaupina and one towel. How is such is your Vairagya? You are the Vairagya Chakravarti, says the devotees, seeing the Vairagya of Ramana. But is it not right for you to show Karuna? Ramana, through his life and teaching, says that the true Vairagya, a great Vairagi, who has dropped everything, who has dropped even the thought that he is the body, every thought that arises, who has dropped, and one who is devoid of all the thoughts, such a one who is ever abiding in the self, is the true Karunalu. He is the one who knows the true love and compassion. He alone can love the whole universe in the best way. Such is the love of the Jnani. We ignorant beings, Ganapati Muni is writing on behalf of all of us that he may be shining in his Vairagya, but that is his true karuna. By being ever abiding in that vairagya sthiti, Ramana to Ganapati Muni himself in one of the talks, talk 111, Ganapati Muni says, if a person has 5 rupees per month at that point of time, he says, if a person gets 5 rupees per month, then he can lead a happy life. Is it not Bhagavan? And Bhagavan replies that until one understands that he does not need anything from outside to be happy, then alone he can be happy. Because if one has 5 rupees, then he may desire for 10 rupees. One, if you have 10 rupees, he may desire for 1,000 rupees. If you have 1,000 rupees, one may desire for lakhs and crores and millions and billions of rupees. But if one understands that the happiness does not lie in any of these possessions or any of these worldly wealth, if one understands that truth and abides in the true source of happiness which is within, just like Ramana was abiding in it, that alone is true karuna. So Ramana is telling with lot of compassion that none of these wealth, if you think that God gives you this much of wealth, then God is very, very karunalu, we say. But that is not the truth. Until you understand that if God does not give you anything, even if he is not giving you anything at all, no possessions to hold on to, then also the God is karunalu, because he is making you realize that your true nature is happiness. And in one of our dance ballet, Vartamana Ramana, the glory of Vairagya is shown. Long time back, as we say, once upon a time, there was these trees in a forest in northern hemisphere. And these trees were very, very beautiful trees with green leaves. And as we all know, the weather changes and the autumn approached. And when the autumn approached and when autumn was ready to paint all the green leaves into yellow and oranges, the green trees started objecting it. They said, no, autumn, we don't want you to color our leaf this time. We are looking very pretty with our green leaves. We will be green all the time. We don't want to become, don't want to have these yellow and orange leaves. And one of the wise trees says, oh, my friends, what are you doing? If the leaves does not change to yellow and orange, it will not drop. It will not drop and fall. Then it will be very, very difficult for you. Then the trees replied, oh, that's precisely the point. We don't want the leaves to fall away. You may fancy being bald, but we don't. But that wise tree says that giving away is beautiful too. Just give away, just enjoy the moment. The giving away is joy too. Understand this and give away your green leaves. But the trees are not listening. And then the autumn goes back without painting these set of trees which objected into yellow and oranges. And soon the winter arrived. And when the winter arrived, it dropped the snow on the branches. But that wise tree which had dropped all the leaves was happily enjoying the winter too, the winter falling on its bald branches. It could bear it. But these trees, the ignorant trees which hold on to their green leaves, their leaves became soggy and wet, and the whole tree became heavy. They couldn't even stand straight, and they, with lot of pain, they reported to the tree, the wise tree, oh, our leaves have become soggy and wet. They have lost their charm which they had in spring. And now it has become so difficult for us to even stand straight, because the winter has placed heavy snow on us. And the wise tree says, I told you that giving away the vairagya too is great joy. So now that you have made your minds wait, I'm sure that the grace will come in the form of the spring breeze, and it will take away all your leaves and the snow. And that's what happened when the trees surrendered. The grace flew as the wind, and it took away all the old leaves. And when the spring came, new leaves, new fruits and flowers grew on that tree. Such is the glory of Vairagya, and Ramana stands as that embodiment of Vairagya, and he says, I am the Srimanta. Look at me. I have dropped everything, yet I am full of bliss. And that true Vairagya is the true Karuna of Ramana. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. We continue the satsang with a sharing by Dr. Sharda. She is meditating on the namas from the Ramana Ashtottara written by Vishwanatha Swami.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, we are meditating on the 108 names on Bhagavan Ramana composed by Vishwanatha Swami. It is called the Ramana Ashtottara Shatanamavali, and we are meditating on that very beautiful name which describes his journey to Arunachala. We are in those months, we have not yet reached those months of the journey. That was the month of August and September. The July month was Bhagavan's enlightenment, and in August and September, reaching there on September 1st, Bhagavan took the journey to Arunachala. This morning, very beautifully, I got a call from Madurai Ramana Mandiram, the person who has been taking care of the Mandiram, a very right devotee. He called me. He said, his name is Soma Sundaram. We all call him Somu Mama. He said, I am very happy to invite all of you this year for the Enlightenment Festival. 2 years we could not hold the Enlightenment Festival. And then just like that, he started recalling the 1st of September 1996. Bhagavan went in 1896. So he was remembering the centenary celebrations. So he said in that time, about 50, 60 people had come from all over India. We relived the journey of Bhagavan to Arunachala. We went the same way as Bhagavan went. And so many from Madurai, about 50, 60 people from not only from different parts of India and the world had joined to undertake the same journey. And all of them, they set out by train that afternoon of 29th August, the way Bhagavan had set out on the afternoon of 29th August. And then next morning, early morning, they got down at the Vizhapuram station. And at Vizhapuram, Bhagavan ate a meal. So they all had the meal at Vizhapuram. They, of course, other devotees had arranged for their breakfast, and they actually stayed at the station itself. They didn't go stay anywhere else. They refreshed themselves at the railway station, had their meal, and they started walking along beside the railway track the way Bhagavan had walked. Beside the railway track, all of them walked up till they reached Ariyaninallur. Ariyaninallur, then they visited the temple at Ariyaninallur. From there, they went to Keelur, where that night we had left the journey of Bhagavan. From Ariyaninallur, he went to Keelur. Keelur, because in Ariyaninallur, food was not available. He went to Keelur, and Keelur also, he was told that food is given only to those who are working in the temple. And we recalled the great offering of the drummer of that temple of Kilur to Bhagavan. About 7-8 years ago, at Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning, we had a workshop on Karnataka dance form, which is called Pattada Kunita or Pata Kunita. It's a folk art form, and the dancers dance with carrying huge poles. They carry the huge pole, bamboo pole of about 7 feet in a pouch, and carrying that pouch, that weight heavy pole, they dance joyously. Many of our folk dances are signifying the fact that either you carry something on your head or you carry something on your body. It can be the karaga, it can be the pole, it can be something. There is a weight which you are carrying, but you are able to dance because you take your mind off that weight and you put your mind into the joyous dance. This is the underlying principle, that you surrender to Bhagavan. As Ujjwal was just saying, you surrender to Bhagavan and you drop everything else, and that weight of the world, which you do not feel the weight of the world, your life can be a joyous dance. So this Pattada Kunita was happening. The workshop happened, and in the seminar, the performance also happened, and there was the leader, the teacher. He was called Chitki Govindraj. He was a very good drummer. Actually, there is nothing there will be no music to that Pattada Kunita. There will be only drumming. And with that drumming, the dance happens. And suddenly it just struck me that, what was the significance of a workshop on Pattada Kunita in Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning? We don't know. But it felt like a connect with that drummer. When this drummer, Chitki Govindraj, when he was drumming on the stage so beautifully to the dance and the Indian traditional, one of the traditions of India, and he was drumming. And this is the way the arts are actually, they are nourished in our temples. They used to be nourished in our temples. All the arts, music, dance. It reminds me that in one of the priests who is still there in Tiruchuri, a senior priest, Halasyam, he would recall that some 30-40 years ago, there would be 50-60 dancers dancing for the seva during the puja time and going round in the procession. Then there will be the drummers, and they would probably either they would be drumming as a percussion to the dance, or they may be drumming as percussion to the music. So there were these drummers who would do the seva. All these people were actually dedicated to the Lord. They were dedicated to, their lives were dedicated to serving only at the temple. So they were in that manner, really the dasas of the Lord. And such a drummer, he felt intuitively that food must be offered to this young boy. And we recalled how Sadhu Om Swami has written a beautiful composition where he says, where the drummer is addressing the priest and saying, can you not see that the one who is asking for food, the one who is spreading out his hands, begging for alms, so that person is not anyone else, he is Lord Shiva himself. And whatever worship you are offering in the shrine of Virateshwara, much greater worship it is to give food to this young lad. That is the vision of the drummer. And he gives his share of the food to this young boy, who takes the food and asking for some water, where he will get water. By the time he reaches the place where he can get water, he faints. and much of the food is scattered on the road, and waking up from the faint, he eats the food which is scattered on the road, and then he goes to sleep in a nearby payal. We talked about the veranda, the cement platforms in the veranda. There are some one or two interesting stories connected with the cement platform in the veranda. But this cement platform was a blessed platform. Actually, Nandakumarji, he often shares with us that the stones, the floor, the wall, the furniture, all these absorb the vibrations of the people sitting on them, sleeping on them. So if there is a mat on which somebody has done meditation for a long time, using that mat to sit down and meditate will be conducive, will easily give us the mood for meditation. Similarly, a chair or a stone or a rock, we think that these are inanimate things. We think that they are jada. Actually, this body is equally jada, says Bhagavan. Our thoughts are all jada. So that was a blessed platform indeed, where this young sage, resplendent with the knowledge of the self, abiding continuously in the self, enjoying the bliss of the self, and at the same time filled with love for Arunachala, filled with the single purpose of obeying the command of Arunachala to reach his feet. Pitrapadan Veshine Namaha. He was in search of that. And that night he spent over there, and the morning he woke up to find that this was the home of Muthu Krishna Bhagavatar. Muthu Krishna Bhagavatar, that sacred couple, and the day was Gokula Ashtami, Krishna Janmashtami. That day, meaning to say the festival would happen in the night. But that was a sacred day. And let us meditate on the joy of that couple and the blessing given by Bhagavan to that couple in our next Manana on Ramana Ashtotram. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We conclude today's satsang with the offering of a few verses from Arunachala Aksharanamale. This will be offered by Srimati V. Radha and Vallabh Srinivasan. This will be followed by the Ashtottara Puja to Bhagavan, which will happen at Sri Dilip Simha Sir's altar. And the chanting of the Ashtottaram will be by Ujjwal Jagadish and Uma Shripati and Ashwi.
Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. Sombiya Shumma Sukhamundurangidu Solveren Kadi Arunachala. Sauriyam Kaattinai Sezhakkatradendre Saliyaathirundhaai Arunachala. Namaliye Keda Naan ennurudiyal naadi ninnuruven Arunachala. Jnanamilladum Asayathalavara Jnanam Theri Arunachala. Nimmaru poniyum malarndilla endre Arunachala. Tattuvam theriyada thanai uttrai tattuvam iduven Arunachala. Thane thane tattuvam idanai thane kaattuva Arunachala. Thirambiya handanai dinamaha kankan தெரியும் என்றென்னை என் அருணாச்சலா தீரமில்லகத்தில் தேடி உந்தனையான் திரும்ப உற்றேன் அருள் அருணாச்சலா துப்பறிவில்லாய் பிறப்பெண் பயன் ஒப்பிடவாயேன் அருணாச்சலா தூய்மன மொழியர் தோயும் உண்மையகம் தோயவே அருளன் அருணாச்சலா தெய்வம் என்றுன்னை சாரவே என்னை சேர ஒழித்தாய் அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ 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 அருணாச்சலம் அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சலம் வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி அக்ஷரமண மாலை வாழி நமோ ரமணா.
We have the Ashtottara Puja to Bhagavan. भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावली अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशेः यस्योर्मि मात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि। ॐ महासे नमः ॐ शेन जाताय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः ॐ महौजसे नमः ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः ॐ जगद्हितावताराय नमः ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः ॐ कमनीय सुचारित्राय नमः ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः ॐ तीव्राय नमः ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः ॐ इन्दुमौळिना पितृमते नमः ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः ॐ तपोमयाय नमः ॐ उदासीनाय नमः ॐ महायोगिने नमः ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसम्रम्भाय नमः ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः ॐ सवित्रे नमः ॐ स्थिराय नमः ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः ॐ पुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः ॐ विराजचलाकृतये नमः ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्य निभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः।
ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्री शोणाचल स्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्द परिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्न संशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋचान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणात् बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतरजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः।
ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थाणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रह सुप्रवाह विवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः हृन्निष्ठस्वगभीर नित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीव हित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संगिये नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಯೇ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡು ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಗಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ महर्षि बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की
जय।